Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and its Ukrainian proxy forces. Now, today, as you can see on the map, we are looking squarely at the city of Kurkova, the city that sits on the Vacha River. As we speak, Russian forces have entered the center of the city. The city, as we speak, compounding that, is being enveloped by Russian forces as we speak. This map provided by the Rondelli Foundation. Now look, the Rondelli Foundation tends to be very much a Western supporting website. It does receive funding from the Open Societies Foundation, and this map is part of that. Now, have the Russians actually proceeded further than what is being showed on this map? Probably, especially in different sectors of the ongoing war. Now, this map does provide fairly good updated information in terms of what is happening on the battlefield, and I at times prefer using this mapping service. Now, at the same time, the United Kingdom is handing over more Storm Shadow cruise missiles. The Russians have declared that the use of such missiles against targets inside the Russian Federation would be deemed an act of war against Russia. Now, are the Russians going to strike the United Kingdom? Probably not just yet. Is it possible? Could it occur? Yes, absolutely. The United Kingdom can barely support its own military. It is continuing to slash and cut funding of its military. At the same time, the United Kingdom is suffering from an epidemic of illegal and government-sponsored migration into its territories. It is believed that by 2050, large parts of southern England will be majority Muslim. That there could be as many as 17 to 20 plus million Muslims, Sunni Muslims, in the United Kingdom, completely changing the demographics in large parts of the UK. It's also believed that in some studies that is not sustainable, meaning the growth rate of Islam conflicts with the culture, the existing culture of the United Kingdom, that could result in large-scale civil conflict. But the United Kingdom is handing over billions and billions of dollars in both military equipment and, more importantly, funding, actual cash, cold, hard pounds to the Ukraine. Now let's have a look at just what the United Kingdom has handed over to the Ukrainian state since the start of the conflict. Now this is a Wikipedia listing. Now you can see here tanks, 14 Challenger 2s. Doesn't seem like a lot, but this isn't really the nuts and bolts of what is being given to the Ukrainians. 23 FV-107 47 combat and logistics vehicles to be delivered. Armored personnel carriers, 35 FV-103 Spartans, 40 FV-104 Samaritans, 46 M113s, 100 other armored vehicles, including FV-430 Bulldogs. Various mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, also known as MRAPs. Infantry mobility vehicles, part of a batch of 80 that were to be delivered to the Ukrainians. Towed artillery, 54 105 millimeter. Self-propelled, you can see here 52 155 millimeter, both M109A4BEs and AS90s. Multiple launch rocket systems, also known as the HIMARS. This is the tracked variant of what is commonly known as the HIMAR, the 227 millimeter M270 Bravo 1 multiple launch rocket system. Vehicles, again, hundreds. Air defense systems, 6 Stormer, HVM, Starstreak, man-portable, unknown amount. 125 anti-aircraft guns. 200 ASRAMs, air defense missiles, pledged December 2023. Additional air defenses pledged as part of a $2.5 billion aid package, January 2024. An additional 650 Marlette lightweight multi-role missiles pledged 6 September 2024. Electronic warfare, anti-drone electronic warfare, GPS jamming equipment. And we get into the kind of the crux of the matter, what is really has become the apex predator of this conflict. Hundreds of loitering munitions, 850 plus Black Hornets, hundreds of unmanned aerial vehicles early 2023. And they're doing this because they really don't know just what has been handed over to the Ukrainians, just how much. They've essentially lost count. 325 million pounds of drones pledged as part of a 2.5 billion military aid package 2024. Radars, Mamba counter battery radar systems. Anti-ship missiles, Harpoons. Here's a big one right here. Surface-to-surface missiles, 600 plus Brimstone 1s, May 2022. And then finally, the most advanced surface-to-surface, air-to-surface missile system, probably in the UK's inventory, is the Brimstone 2, the cheat code missile. Then an additional 200 Brimstone 2s pledged February 2024. Additional 90 Brimstone missiles pledged July 2024. Storm Shadows. And we really don't have a number. They're just producing them and then shipping them to the Ukrainians. Anti-tank weapons, 5,361 in-law anti-armor weapons, 200 Javelin anti-tank missiles. Now this is just the United Kingdom. Again, coming from a country that cannot support its own military. Ammunition. Look at this. 3 million rounds of small arms ammunition. Thousands of 120 millimeter Hessian depleted uranium tank shells. Precision-guided M31A1 Gimler's rockets. And again, we don't even know the amount. hundreds of AMRAAM missiles, military gear, 84,000 helmets. That would essentially provide a helmet to every British soldier. 84,000 helmets, 5,000 night vision devices, 8,450 sets of body armor, 25,000 sets of extreme cold weather clothing, 1,500 mine detectors, combat boots, unknown amount, miscellaneous equipment, you can see it there. Training, very expensive, very important part of the ongoing war. Trained 22,000 Ukrainian troops as part of Operation Orbital since 2015 to 2021. That then turned into Operation Interflex. Let's have a look at that. June 2022, the United Kingdom offered to set up Operation Interflex, a program to administer and provide 3 weeks general infantry, first aid, cybersecurity, and counter-explosive tactics training to 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers every 4 months. This would better equip Ukraine to replace battlefield casualties. The program commenced on 9 July 2022. Ultimately, 10,000 Ukrainian troops passed through training during 2022, with an additional 20,000 to be trained in 2023, and that has since expanded greatly to a point where we don't really know at this point how many Ukrainian troops are being trained by the United Kingdom. Remember, again, this is a country, the United Kingdom, who cannot afford to maintain its own military. Right now, as we speak, the British are training more Ukrainian troops than actually Englishmen. It is more vested in training the Ukrainian military than it is its own armed forces. Think about that for a second. Then obviously intelligence, major part of the ongoing conflict. Without the level of intel that is being provided to the Ukrainians, this war would have ended long ago. This war would not last 3 years. Again, intelligence, deployment of RC-135W, Whiskey, Rivet Joint Surveillance Aircraft to provide information on size and position of Russian forces. ISTAR, intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, and reconnaissance support, both standalone and in partnership with the United States. And then finally, as your heat, as your ability to warm yourself as a senior citizen in the United Kingdom, financial aid for the Ukrainians. Here we go. 2022 pledged $3.5 billion in export financing, underwrote $500 million in MLDB borrowing, and provided a $100 million loan via the World Bank for economic development. And this just goes on and on and on. Look at this. And again, a country in the United Kingdom that cannot support its own military. Talk about committing national suicide. It just blows your mind what the British populace is allowing to happen to its nation state. Incredible. I mean, if you look at the level of migration the destruction of British English cultural norms, the whole country is being changed, especially in the South, London. Completely changed. Destroyed from within. And at the same time, it's military. At one point in time, one of the largest, most powerful navies on the planet Earth. Formerly the British Empire. Now, a handful of ships. Its army, dilapidated. Although still well trained, nothing like it once was. Completely eviscerated. Again, training more Ukrainian troops than it trains its own British army. Kind of terrifying. We expect that this pocket, the Kurakova pocket, again, is going to continue to collapse, and then eventually, as we've talked about before, one complete front line running south of Volhodar all the way to Pokrovsk. Now, additionally, we are hearing reports that about 30 to 45,000 Russian troops are now massing just south of Orikhiv. It is anticipated that the Russians could launch another large-scale offensive, not just in the Donbass, but now in Zaporizhia, with the target being another major transport hub and a fortified area of Orikhiv. If the Russians are able to push further north, seize control of Orikhiv at the same time, seize control of Pokrovsk, the situation on the ground is simply going to be untenable for the Ukrainian military. Unless, as we've talked about before, there is outside intervention. Now, I want to go back over to the list of Ukrainian aid. And by and far, the United States, as we speak, is now rushing military aid to the Ukrainians before Donald Trump is placed in the White House. But let's look at exactly what the United States has provided over the course of the war. I mean, you could equip an entire army with what the United Kingdom and the United States have handed over to the Ukrainians. This is not just other nation states such as France and other countries as well that have handed over weapon systems. 31 M1 Abrams, 45 T-72. So what the United States does is they purchase T-72 tanks from other Eastern European nation states. They refurbish those tanks, and then they hand those tanks over to the Ukrainians. 300 M2A2 ODS Bradleys. 300. That is essentially a full-on U.S. mechanized division worth of Bradleys. 600 M113s. 300 armored medical treatment vehicles. 250 M117s. 189 Strykers. 440 International Max Pros. 37 Cougars. Unknown amount of Oshkosh. 289 unknown MRAPs to be delivered. 190 MRAPs. It's 1,000 MRAPs, over 1,000 that have been handed over. 3,000 Humvees, 200 light tactical vehicles. Trucks. Let's just call it close to 1,000. Towed artillery, 180 M50, 155 millimeter M777s, 72 M105s, 18 155 millimeter Paladins, 20 HIMARS systems, 12 NASAMS batteries, 2 Hawk batteries, 20 Avengers, a Patriot battery, 2,000 Stinger anti-aircraft systems. Look at this. This is just mind-blowing. Over 10,000 Javelin anti-armor systems. 10,000. Over 90,000 other anti-armor systems and munitions. They don't even know. They don't even know just what has been given to the Ukrainians. Over 9,000 tube-launched, optically tracked, wire-guided missiles, also known as the TOW. 9,000. High-speed anti-radiation missiles, the AGM-88. Laser-guided rockets. RIM-7 missiles. 6,000 Zuni aircraft rockets. 20,000 Hydra-70 rockets. ADM-160 MAL decoy missiles. JDAMs. MG-148 TACMs. We don't even know the amount now. Look at this drone. Look at the drone capability that has been given to the Ukrainians. Look at this. 100 Switchblade 300s, 10 Switchblade 600s, 300 Switchblade kamikaze drones of unknown type delivered April 2022 onward. 1,801 Phoenix Ghosts. Radars, 26 Firefinder weapon locating radars. Unbelievable. Look at the ammunition. Look. 3,155 millimeter artillery rounds. 7,000 precision guided 155 millimeter artillery rounds. Over 50,000 155 millimeter rounds of remote anti-armor mine RAM systems. 100,000 rounds of 125 millimeter tank ammunition. 400,000 rounds of 152. 40,000 130 millimeter. 40,000 rounds 122 millimeter. 60,000 round 122 Grad rockets. 800,000 rounds of 105 millimeter artillery rounds. 10,000 rounds of 203 millimeter artillery rounds. And yeah, that's a 500 million rounds of small arms ammunition. 500 million rounds. 1,800,000 rounds of 25 Mike. Over 100,000 sets of body armor and helmets. Again, you could equip a European army in its entirety with what has been handed over to the Ukrainians just by the United States. Training. Financial aid. And this doesn't even get into what the EU has handed over or what has been handed over by all the other Western European nation states as well. Turkey, Switzerland, Sweden, unbelievable. Poland. The Poles essentially gave the Ukrainians all its Soviet era main battle tanks, handed over, plus some Western systems. Trying to get up to France, another nation committing cultural suicide as we speak. But it's just unbelievably amazing what has been given to the Ukrainians. Germany. Look at this. And here's France, finally. France was the largest arms exporter to Ukraine between 2014 and 2020, with over 1.6 billion worth of weapons provided. Here's your scalps, basically the French version of the Storm Shadow. $260 VABs, 38 AMX 10 RCs. The Ukrainians are eating very good. 100,000 combat rations. I don't know if anyone's ever eaten a French MRE, but I can tell you, French MREs are pretty goddamn good. Anyway, I think you kind of understand. Look here, 65 tanks, T-72s. And again, this is the French essentially buying these Eastern former Soviet main battle tanks and then handing them over after upgrade to the Ukrainians. BMP-1s. Yeah. Anyway, I think I had actually gotten to the German section there, by the way. So, anyway, feel free to go in and you can see this for yourself. It just, again, just blows your mind. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter, because the Russians are, even with all these weapon systems that have been handed over to the Ukrainians, are still going to outproduce. They're producing more artillery, essentially more of everything, and we're watching this starting to enter the closing days of this conflict, because I don't believe come January, the United States is going to provide anything close to the support that is being handed over right now. They're just not going to do that. And I do believe many are worried that this could, in fact, escalate prior to Donald Trump taking power. But we'll have to see. Well, that's what we have for today. Thanks for joining us. As always, have a good day.